and and so now it's asking you, because I've seen a lot of astrologers online and stuff that are putting the words of Jupiter and Uranus coming together as kind of like an earthquake, right? So we have the Earth of Taurus, and then you have Uranus, which is, some kind of sudden change. Well, if the Earth is breaking open for you, things are shifting, things are changing. And so, again, in my own personal journey through these major transits since 2020, I have taken many steps towards retiring. In fact, just now, in like this last week, I planted more seeds with my work to set a very specific date of when I will be done. So I'm just giving you that analogy of my story so that when you start to think about this whole conjunction that's coming up this week, like it's just like another step to something else that has already been working through your life.
Yes. And can I point out too, Cindy, that last night I pulled up her numerology, and her numerology coincides with her plan. And I didn't know about her plan, but when I looked at it, I was like, wow, that makes sense. So we're not just supported by this one modality, but I mean, it's just really cool how you could look at this, from those that have the knowledge to be able to say, this is what you need to look at, to be able to sort of make sense of a lot of things. I thought that was really cool.
So is it true, though, that Jupiter and Uranus only conjunct every 12 years? Is that a true
14,
statement?
14.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, every 14 years. And I just looked it up, Cindy, because I couldn't remember what year it was. And the last time this exact conjunction happened in Taurus was in 1941.
41, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, excellent. All right, wonderful.
Yeah.
So, can you guys take turns, or maybe just go through the houses and say, if you have this conjunction in this house, this is what you can expect? We could probably find that online, I suppose, if you didn't want to do that.
Well, does everybody know which house it's hitting?
Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I dropped
the
I
one
dropped
thing I
the
can
link.
say, I'll do something general, and then I'm gonna let Tracy take that one if she wants. But what I am gonna say is, if it's happening in 1 through 6, houses 1 through 6, if it's conjuncting in the lower hemisphere of your chart, then it's going to be more inward, more internal, more some kind of internal shift or new way of thinking or changing. And if it's in the 7th to 12th house, then that's going to be more external. So, like for me, up there in that 10th and 11th house, again, that is work, the communities that I'm building. So that's outside of you, your boss, friends, moving.
Excellent. Excellent. That's helpful. Yeah. Super helpful.
Yeah. Do you want me to go through the houses?
If you want to, only if you want to. If you don't want to, what she did was helpful too. But yeah.
I would say if this is taking place in your first house, does anybody know if this conjunction is taking place in their first house? For sure.
No, not anyway.
I know for Kathy, her Jupiter is in her first house.
Okay.
I have a question real quick before you start. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Or was somebody talking?
Oh, please.
No.
Okay, sorry. It can happen in 2 houses, is that correct? Or it only happens in 1? Cindy, I know you told me a little bit, but does it happen in 2 houses or just 1?
Typically it's just going to be in 1 house, because it's in Taurus. So, it's got to be in Taurus.
Okay. So just
If
one
you're
place.
using a house system that like Placidus, this is advanced astrology conversation chat here, but if you're using a house system that shows you have Taurus bordering two different houses, that might be where the confusion is coming from, but 21 degrees of Taurus is only going to be in one house in your chart.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I
So
was asking, but I didn't ask it right. Thank you.
No,
the
no,
conjunction,
I knew what you meant.
Okay, can I
the
clarify one more
conjunction,
thing? Oh, I'm so sorry. One more thing is that do we also well, we're not going by signs, we're going by houses, right? So we don't need to worry about like sun sign and rising sign. So never mind.
okay. So the
We can ask
conjunction
all
is
these.
happening in my 10th house, but then you said something about where is Jupiter located. So Jupiter's actually located in my first house, but the conjunction itself is happening in my 10th house.
Okay.
So I wasn't sure
Right.
how those two
So any,
things.
and the only reason why I said to also look at where Uranus and Jupiter is in your overall chart is because anytime a planet is, I just like to use the words being lit up, like getting extra energy, which those two planets are getting extra energy from each other right now because they're right next to each other. They're also in a way lighting up that planet wherever it is in your chart individually.
Got it.
Yeah. Yes, that made sense to to explain it that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if this is taking place in your first house, this conjunction, 21 degrees of Taurus, your first house is your house of self. So we're talking about things like ego. We're talking about sort of how we see ourselves in the world. We're also talking about sometimes physical health and things that are going on with our personal energy. So if you're experiencing this in the first house, there might be some, there might be some changes going on internally. There might be some physical changes happening or some motivation or opportunity to make some changes, regarding that that self energy. If you have 21 degrees of Taurus in your second house, this is the house of personal resources. So I like to look at the second house like your online dating profile and your resume. Here are the things, here are my values, here are my skills, here are the things that are important about me. Now show me yours. How do you match up with people or jobs or opportunities? That's second house thing. So personal resources, values, love and money. So if you have this happening in the second house, there could be financial opportunities, there could be financial shifts or changes, job or skill opportunities, even new budding relationships or connections of some kind that may lead to something larger down the road. So there's a lot of things going on in the second house there, possibly even changing or shifting or realization of your own values or self-worth. I think self-worth is probably an important one with this specific conjunction. So a lot of opportunity there. If this is in the third house is the nerd house. This is how you learn, how you teach, how you communicate. There could be opportunities for expansion of your mind. So sometimes learning and teaching opportunities happen in the third house. Are you writing? Is this something that you've been wanting to start? Is there an opportunity for you to build your skills or learn something new, take on some kind of new technology? One thing about Uranus is that it is very technology forward. So if there's some new tech, some new social media, some new opportunity to expand your skills into an area that you haven't been familiar with before, and this is happening in the third house, this could be an interesting path to follow for you and possibly lead to additional opportunities down the road. The fourth house is the house of home. And so your physical dwelling, sure, but more so, what does home mean to you? What are your roots? What are your traditions? What are your family ties? Whether that's your family of origin or, the family you've adopted along the way. But, what are you rooted to, and what does that mean to you? There could be opportunities or changes happening in that area of your life. Sometimes with Uranus and Taurus together in the fourth house, when we get to fourth house, fifth house, I start thinking expansion of what's going on in your home. Some clients I see, when we have things like this happening in the fourth and fifth house, it's like, hey, are you planning to add to your family in a meaningful way? Or are you planning to add to your home in a meaningful way? Sometimes there could be an addition on the way, expected or not. Uranus doesn't like to let us expect things. So sometimes there are surprises. So if that's something that's happening in your fourth house, keep an eye there, you know, whatever you're planning. And then fifth house is like the house of joy. It's beautiful. It's romantic connection. It's children, if we have them, and how they are in our lives, even if we don't have children of our own. Fifth house has a lot to do with our creative pursuits. So if this is happening in your fifth house, write the book, start the blog, like do the thing, you know, reach out. Is there someone that you've been waiting to make a connection with? I think people who have this happening in the fifth house, that's like, I would be jealous of that area, that placement for this, because I feel like there's so many optimistic opportunities that could be happening in that area. Of course, I have golden retriever energy, so that's my optimistic outlook for the fifth house. I always want that to be happy there. Now, the sixth house is the house of, this is our physical and mental health, but this is also how we are of service to others, which can be related to the job that we do for money. So our job is not always the same as our greater purpose, right? So the sixth house really has to do with that job, and then also related to physical and mental health. If you have this happening in the sixth house, if you have Taurus in the sixth house, you know, your health needs to be a priority. You need to be taking care. I would say if you have Taurus in the sixth house period and you're having this happening here, there might be hormonal shifts and changes on board for you that you need to keep an eye on and take care of. Obviously, I'm not a medical provider. Please don't take anything I say to your doctor and say some lady on the internet told me. But, but, you know, this can be common in this area, just with Taurus in the sixth house. And this happening can mean that this might be a time where you're experiencing shifts and changes that sort of motivate you to figure out how to better support your own physical health, which can then, we know hormones can also affect our mental health as well. So supporting both of those things at the same time. On the job front, this could mean opportunities, this could mean growth and recognition that could be happening, or potential change of how you are earning money moving forward, right? Now, like Cindy said, anything that's happening in the first six houses are things that are more like they're happening to you in your personal life, right? Mm-hmm. Once we get to the seventh house, we start looking at things that are happening sort of to you outwardly, right? In the outward world, outside of the front door. So the seventh house, sometimes called the spouse house, this is the house of partnership. This is the house of how we are connected in, you know, legal, sometimes in meaningful ways to other people. You know, we can also be talking about legal situations. If you have Taurus and this transit happening in your seventh house, there could be shifts and changes in, you know, the dynamics of relationships that you're in. You could be experiencing changes that have to do with some sort of legal situation. Both of these things sound really negative. They don't have to be. There could be opportunities for you to, you know, maybe if you would like to be legally bound to another person, that, you know, marriage opportunity or some sort of unexpected situation that may be coming your way in the way that you are partnered, right? And partnership can mean a lot of different things. Maybe it's a business partnership. You know, maybe it's an intimate partnership. Maybe it's a close personal friendship. You know, but connection in general may be experiencing some change, shift, or opportunity here. If you have this transit happening in your 8th house, the 8th house is the scary Midwest basement of the birth chart. This is where we keep our secrets. This is where we keep our vulnerabilities and our intimacies, and we don't let just everybody into the 8th house stuff that's going on in our life. If this is happening to you in your 8th house, it could be very uncomfortable for you because it may be an opportunity for some of the things that have been sort of stashed away in that very vulnerable, very intimate area of your, personal and spiritual self. These things are kind of being exposed to the light. This could be an opportunity for you to do that yourself, to sort of take agency, and maybe you're seeking some sort of spiritual guidance or mental health care, or, you're moving along some new spiritual path. But this could also be an unexpected way that some of these things are being exposed, and you're sort of having to deal with things out in the light that you're used to sort of storing away neatly until you're ready to look at them. So, things that happen in the 8th house are never easy, but they're always about healing and advancing. So if this is happening to you there, keep that in mind, that healing is the point here. If you have Taurus, 21 degrees, and this conjunction happening in your 9th house, the 9th house is about things like travel and adventure and philosophy and religion. And it's about our rising wisdom and the stories we have to tell from the experience of our life. The 9th house has like big Indiana Jones energy to me. Like there's an adventurousness to what's happening here, and there's a story that we want to tell. So if this is happening to you here, what adventure are you pursuing this year? What are you telling the world about the things that you've been through? Who are you sharing with? And who are you teaching with the experiences that you've had? Because a big part of the 9th house is about teaching. If the 3rd house is about, teaching the kiddos in your life, the 9th house is about teaching the college student inside of you. Who are you bringing up with the stories that you have to tell, if this is happening to you in your 9th house? The 3rd house is about advancing, your forward education, and the 9th house is about really like, are you writing that novel? Tell me your epic YA novel idea. Like that's 9th house energy. If you have this happening in your 10th house, then you are me and you are scared. The 10th house, the 10th house is very related to things like career and legacy. I have a 0-degree Taurus midheaven, so I haven't been looking forward to this one. It's felt personal. It's felt like a personal attack.
What do you think's gonna, like, what's the thing where you're like, oh my God, if that happens, it'd be awful. But then also, what could happen that'd be amazing?
So my anxiety disorder, generally, I'm a disaster planner, right? Like that's what keeps me safe, right? If I already know all of the worst things that can happen, then the worst thing that can happen will never happen to me because I will have already planned for it and avoided it. So, I'm not a human. I am 9 chihuahuas in a trench coat. This is how I operate. It's very healthy. But the thing that I have found with this 10th house is that for me, the way that this is working out is that I speak to clients all day long, and I help clients find their way to things that are going to help them progress, heal, advance what's going on for them. And I'm really good at saying those things and really bad at looking at my own stuff and doing the things. Okay. I don't love to look at my own chart. I don't love to make the changes in the ways that I probably should. But I even just this week, I have taken some really big steps to advancing the things that I should be doing for myself. And the way that this is kind of coming out, because this is the 10th house, this is about career, legacy, reputation. The people who know me know that I'm good to come to for advice about what to do in your own life. And I'm bad at taking my own advice. And so I'm taking my own advice and I'm doing some of the things that I need to be doing to sort of repair or improve my own professional and personal reputation so that I can also walk the walk and not just talk the talk here. So if you are also having this happen in your 10th house, you know, you may be experiencing a situation where your personal reputation is kind of asking you to catch up with it, or to advance that, or an opportunity to build, you know, what you have already built for yourself professionally or even personally. Now, if this is going on in your 11th house, the 11th house is the house of groups, organizations, clubs, extended friend groups. The 11th house is also the house that rules over social media. So if you have this happening in the 11th house, this is a really interesting opportunity, especially with Uranus, because it is so tech forward and you know, about the advancement of technology and the way that we connect with people. You know, this is a very potent energy that I think, if this is taking place in your 11th house, is probably propelling you to make some steps toward, how are you connecting with larger audiences? Are you a person who has a business that needs to rebrand or connect with different groups or sects of people? You know, what is this looking like for you, and how are you connecting in a larger sense? This might also look like you having opportunities to be a member of or join some sort of organization or group that will, you know, allow you friendship or networking opportunities down the road. You know, so this is a good thing. 11th house. I like that. I like the 11th house and the 5th house. Those are my favorite places for this one to be happening, I think. Now, if this is happening in your 12th house, so you have 21 degrees of Taurus in your 12th house. If the 8th house is our scary Midwest basement, the 12th house is like the root cellar. The 12th house is like our subconscious. There's a lot of woo woo to the 12th house that is way above my pay grade. Joe, I know you are a 12th houser, and you have always been above my pay grade. I'm just doing space math, and you're doing way up here. Space math is here. Joe is way up here. If you are a 12th house, if you're a 12th houser, or if this is happening in your 12th house, there's a lot of subconscious, deep spiritual advancement opportunities happening here. And, you know, what that looks like for you is going to have to do with, you know, obviously every person, how these things are going to take place are going to depend on what else is in your chart and how that's hitting. But if this is taking place in your 12th house, this is potentially like breakthroughs or opportunities to really see what is going on inside of you at a deep level, and realizing maybe that you are more powerful spiritually than you thought that you were. You know, advancement and learning opportunities related to all that stuff that's going on deeper inside of you. So, how did I do, Cindy?
Yeah, real good. The only thing I want to say about the 12th house was,
Yeah, please do.
I just want to, because I don't think it's anybody in this group, but the way I think about it too is like, whatever's going on in your 12th house, do not sweep it under the rug. This is not the time to sweep it under the rug, because if your 12th house is asking you to learn whatever it's asking you to learn, or getting planetary energy, if you sweep it under the rug, it's like not only is that the low road, but that's really going to come back to bite you. Because the 12th house are things that you have to deal with, and even though you may want to sweep them under the rug and ignore them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is one of the areas, like when I do tetralogy readings, I don't go through all of the, you know, the big three and all that stuff, because that's not where the focus is in a tetralogy reading. It's all about transformation, spiritual awakening, all of that. So we look at the nodes, we look at, you know, Pluto, we look at Saturn, we look at Chiron and Black Moon Lilith and all of that stuff. So for those that are focused on more of a spiritual awakening, you're finding that everything is really sort of, you know, bringing that up, that 12th house stuff up that Tracy and Cindy were just talking about. I just want to quickly, because I just want to quickly go through the houses and give it that sort of spiritual twist. That's it.
Yeah.
Things to look at. So first house would be your path forward, your independence and your interdependence. Where are you being called to step up, step in, just take action, take responsibility on your path forward, your spiritual path forward. Two, the second house is about self-worth. It's about how you see yourself, how the world sees yourself, how we don't put our value based on somebody else. So the second house is asking us to look at your value to the world, what you think that is. Your third house is, that's always communication regardless, but this seems to be coming around for a lot of how you're communicating your wants and your needs. How are you communicating with the universe? What is your relationship with the universe? How do you ask for things? All of that sort of, again, how are you communicating? Because our thoughts and our words equal that's manifestation, but that's also, sort of our consciousness. And so that's our communication, and that's what we get back from the universe based on what we put out. Fourth house, the healing, our combination of homes and family. It's home, so it's more. Okay, I'll tell you the thing that keeps coming through for me for fourth house in this is people that have gone non-contact. So there's like no relationships or bad relationships or relationships that need to be not maybe healed, but at least you have to come to sort of like some conclusion or be at peace with that's what the relationship is now at this time. Sort of let that go and leave that in the past. Difficulties tied to like familial struggles. There's also past life stuff that comes up with ancestors, but it feels like it's more related to practices, spiritual practices, modalities, that sort of thing that maybe you're interested in or that are going to take like a bigger front and center in your life, I guess, so to speak. Five house, joy, fun, adventure, like Tracy said. For this feels more like freedom from those things like procrastination and freedom from, ignoring things. It's about creating structures in your life, discipline. That five energy, fives in numerology do not like discipline or structure. So it's about taking that and saying, okay, well, how do I actually create some structure in my life? Because it's that structure that's going to actually give you the freedom that we look for. We look for financial freedom. We look for, freedom from rules, being told what to do. But that feels more like it's that fun and adventure energy. So that's similar. A lot of these are very similar. There's just a bit of a slant. Sixth house, health in the day-to-day matters, but also for me, that's coming through as there needs to be a focus on the self-care, self-love, self, fill your own cup, because only then can you fill the cup of others. And also that six energy is very nurturing. It's the number of empaths. It's the number of intuitives and mother energy, nurturing energy. So you're going to want to look at enmeshment. You're going to want to look at resentment. Sixes can be very resentful. They love to give advice, but then get really mad when people don't take it. So that six energy is coming through there. Seventh house, relationships, issues with partnership. That can be, like Tracy said, business partnership. But there's also that interdependence is coming up again. And that's, I think, all tied into the retrograde that we're in, because there is communication, right? How do we communicate within our relationship? And are we communicating our wants and our needs in an effective way where we're actually getting what we want? Are we able to ask for our needs to be met? Are we not communicating? And if we're not, then everything, I think that's when Pluto and Uranus are going to make everything go to shit. But Anyway, so relationship issues, interdependence. 8 is transformation. Now, 8 is the house where mine falls in. And I don't know a ton. I've read that before, Tracy, about the 8th house and how it's like, you know, really mystical, and a lot of people don't care for that 8th house. But I live on my Pluto line. Pluto is just huge. It's all, everything is about transformation. And if I had to pick a theme for, I don't even know what my chart ruler is Venus, so I don't know if that would actually connect. Maybe, yeah, maybe it would, but transformation is huge in my life. So that's what I'm seeing it as my 8th house, is that it's the transformation, everything that I've been working on since, you know, my awakening, that has been and needs to be further transformed. That's about empowerment, and that ties in for me with Black Moon Lilith. You know, Lilith and the masculine, divine masculine and divine feminine, not one or the other. So it would be actually the divine coming together, and then you're just this full, you know, sort of energy.
You know what I didn't say about the 8th house is that it is also related to shared resources. So shared finances, financial, you know, sometimes like things like debt and taxes, but also like windfalls and lotteries and things like that. So unexpected money situations, good or bad, can sometimes be related there.
Inheritances. What is it called? They say other people's money. I'm like, well,
other people's money.
Sounds good to me. Let's see, 9's okay. 9, everything, you know, that Tracy said, spirituality, wisdom, education, new modalities, teaching. But this one comes through for me that if that's taking place in your 9th house, then you're meant to actually look at what you're meant to share with the world or put out to the world. It's next to your career, but it's also about you. What are you getting into? What are you learning? And then how are you going to turn around and use that to share with the world? 10th, I'm not even going to, you know, it's career and legacy, just like, you know, Tracy said, career and legacy. And that's from a spiritual aspect, you're meant to do the thing that you're meant to do, and do it, because if not, that I believe that Tower card's going to come out. That's why I asked you, I was like, what are you afraid of happening if you don't do the thing? Because the universe gives us 1,000 different opportunities to do the thing that we're meant to do. So I don't think there's necessarily anything bad that's going to happen. But at all, ever, I just think that it might be internalized, or, you know, you might be more disappointed in yourself than anything.
I will tell you, and this is slightly off, but there's something that what I do professionally, fine. I've wanted to do that. I'm realizing that I'm working on ways to expand that, and that's going well. There's another thing that I want to do that I haven't been giving enough attention to, and I'm afraid if I give it the attention that it needs, that I will take attention away from the other things that I have built. And I just, in general, as a person, or the chihuahuas in a trench coat, I don't want to fail at either thing. And so if I just pretend the other thing doesn't exist, then I won't fail.
Yeah,
right?
That's gonna work.
I know that's not right.
Can I pull a card for you as you're talking? See what the universe has to say about that?
Sure.
What came through, I'm like, first thing was like, why is she afraid? Because it's actually going to be very successful. And then I'm like, wait a minute, how do I know? What is that? Okay, let me just pull a card for you based on that. And this is just what the universe wants you to know about that specifically. That's it. There's no you know, no details or anything necessary. I mean, it's the 6 of Swords, right? And so we get into that 6 energy, and it's about taking care of yourself and giving yourself what it is that you need and the thing that you want to do and what lights you up. Swords are about our emotions. And then just to sort of give this a mantra, I accept help as I easily move through this transition. So it's a transition. It will be a transition, but there are going to be people and things and opportunities and all these things that are actually going to give you help. So I would take this card as you're going to get help. It's going to be easy, easily moving through this transition. And so for me, that would be, I'd be like, okay, well, there you go. So there's your answer. That's why I was like, anyway.
Thank you.
And Joe, before you move on to the next house, the only thing I want to say too about that 10th house, just to be sensitive to those that might not have what we define as a career. To me, it's more about like your public image, like
Yes.
how you show up in the world, because you know, you can just be the best mom in the world. And that's going to be your claim to fame. You know,
Yeah.
you just are the best mom ever. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be like the job kind of career that maybe even the 6th house is, the type of job you do. It's just like how you're showing up.
Thank you, Cindy. That was good to consider. 11th house, same thing. This one is about finding your and creating your community, or being a community leader, bringing others together based on the things that light you up, or your spiritual journey. You know, like Tracy said, it represents social media, which is interesting because social media sort of people are moving away from social media and into more like memberships and stuff like that. So, which is really about saying, hey, everybody, you know, let's create this hub. And then 12th house, straight up, nothing but a big fat old spiritual hardcore awakening. I mean, and it's happening right now. We're in an ascension lifetime. And that, you know, astrology, that is the algorithm of you know, the world, is saying, okay, it's time to wake up time. So if you're starting to see recurring numbers, starting to just experience sort of that, you know, even that interest in, you know, what's, you know, what are these, most, it feels like maybe there's, at the beginning awakening level, there'd be some serious dissatisfaction with life, serious. And that's where all these eclipses come in, and, you know, the eclipse season and all this stuff. At the other end of it, you know, you're just ready to make a major spiritual up level, and you know, how you interact with the world. It's like self-mastery is basically what that is. So across the board. So that's from like a practical day-to-day, what is it? You're the queen of spreadsheets, right? Spreadsheet astrology, is that what you
Circular spreadsheet. Yeah.
Yes, circular spreadsheets. The like the spectrum of it to people that are into the woo-woo. So I think it's a nice balance.
So I think it's I put it all together for myself. So I have my Uranus is in my 1st house, right? So that's like how you present yourself, your ego, self-image, that kind of stuff. And then my Jupiter is in my 4th house, and that's putting everything that you guys said together. That's your family, your life, but like how, like the how you create your life, right? And then the transit itself is in my 6th house with Taurus. And so for me, I wasn't really sure that's the one about self-care and like the hormones maybe kind of thing. Just taking care of yourself, self-care thing. I have planned a I'm doing a cannabis art like group thing, like where you partake with cannabis and then like we paint some art or whatever. But like in the like week and weeks leading up to it, I've just noticed that like the routine thing has been like very much like front and center for me. Like, how am I taking care of myself? Like, and being very just conscious of it in more ways than I normally am. And with this, like I've done the hormone tracking for a long time, like just kind of like it's more like hormone honoring is what I call it. Which is really much just the principle behind it is being aware of it, like being aware of what hormonal cycle I'm in, and then like making sure that my activity level is coinciding with that, because depending on where you are in your cycle, you have either more energy or less energy, and your body needs and requires different things. So I've noticed that in this last month, basically, and leading up to this date, like things have been definitely coinciding with everything. It's crazy.
Yeah.
To just add to that, if you are a person who has this happening especially this transit happening in the 1st or 6th house, or if you're a person who has really prominent Cancer placements in your chart. I just want to recommend, in case you don't have it, the Moon Calendar app. Moon Calendar. It's just called Moon Calendar. Let me see if I can show you when you open it. It looks like the lunar cycle, right? But it sort of looks like a tray of birth control pills.
Yeah.
See that? Right? So this app is, I think, the free version you can use, it's fine, but the paid version is like $1.99 a year. You can track your cycle if you have one in this app. You can enter your birth information and it will put your birth chart with your physical energies every single day. And it gives you notifications about where you can expect, what sign is today's moon in, what house is that happening with in your chart, what kind of energy levels can you be expecting? And then it learns from your cycle over time as well, how and what to be able to expect. It's a really slick app for not a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if you, like I said, if you are a person, especially if you have Cancer placements, if you are a Cancer rising, like, just please do me the favor. I'll give you the $2. Like, you should just have it, you know?
Poor Cancers in the moon.
I'm sorry about them. You gotta listen to it.
That is so cool. I've never heard of that app, and I'm totally gonna do it.
Yes,
Yeah,
everything you just said made me think, oh, that's exactly, you need that.
Yes.
what's interesting to me is that I looked at what's the difference between Vedic and Western astrology, and the thing that stood out to me the most was the phase the moon was in when you were born and how that affects your mental health. And boy, that was spot on because the moon was actually fading. Well, I can't even remember the words. You guys know it, but it was like getting smaller.
Waning.
It was waning when I was born, and that can make you like um your moods can really swing between, not that you're bipolar or anything, but just and it was interesting that I found that interesting, and you guys don't have that with Western at all, do you?
Yeah. So first of all, if another woo and a, if you ever want to have it on the moon, is a big topic. You could you could study astrology and just study the moon. There's so many things about the moon. Probably, like you said, just different philosophies depending on the different type of astrology that you subscribe to. But the other thing about the moon is it moves so fast, right? So it moves every 2.5 days. So it's into a different sign. So right there alone, it's going to create a lot of fluctuation, right? Because every 2.5 days, it's in a different sign. And we all, depending on what our chart looks like, react differently to different sign energy. So, and a good example of this is, and you were talking about being neurotic or something, is I'm a Cancer rising, right? So your rising, whatever planet rules your rising sign, is your planet ruler for your whole chart. Kind of gives you your flavor of life, right? So I'm a Cancer rising, so I'm ruled by the moon. And the moon, because it moves every 2.5 days, makes me like really a roller coaster kind of personality.
And an Aquarius. So
And yeah, oh yeah, I got lots of other things in my chart too, but yes. I love your chihuahua in the coat nail
Wish
too.
that wasn't true.
So I know we looked at this last night, but I didn't really ask this question. So this transit is just transiting Taurus in my 8th house. But I don't have any planets in there. I have nothing in the 8th house. Nothing. Now that's for, if I'm not mistaken, Capricorn, because I was also doing something else, and in Libra, because I always look at my Libra rising, always. It's in the 5th house. So I have, it's gonna hit in my 5th house and my 8th house. So I don't necessarily know exactly what that means for me, because in my 5th house, I have Venus. Venus, yeah, in my 5th house. So I don't really know if that means anything.
So Joe, you had Uranus and Jupiter in natally in your 12th house.
Natally in the 12th house,
And
yeah.
it's transiting though in your 8th house, right?
Sitting my 8th house, yes.
So how are you bringing in that 5th house?
That's Capricorn, but when I look at my Libra, because I also look at, where it hits Libra for my Libra rising, apparently it's hitting my 5th house, but I don't know how to pull up a chart for that. I just got that from another astrologer who said, if you're a Libra rising, this is where it's going to hit in your chart.
Mm.
I don't know how to prove that. They could be lying.
I'm not tracking on that one either. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm not tracking that either. I guess I'd have to put it in and
That
see
space
how it
math
came
ain't
up,
mathin',
but-
Joe. That's okay.
It's kind of disappointing a little bit.
I can say that this transit though is going to hit. So we talked about anywhere where you have 21 degrees, right? In any sign, but also wherever your earth signs are, wherever your Capricorn, your Virgo, your Taurus, your is that it, Tracy?
Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus. Yes.
And what about cardinal signs?
It's not cardinal, it's fixed. Taurus is fixed.
Okay.
So were you gonna say something?
No, keep going.
Okay,
Sorry.
so one thing I want to, people that aren't astrologers, but maybe kind of know, they hear these words, cardinal, fixed, mutable. So every sign is an element, which is, the earth, air, water, and fire. And then every sign is also an element. So it's either cardinal, fixed, or mutable. So cardinals are the initiators. The fixed energy, which is Taurus, they like to change, but they're also stubborn. They take a lot to convince them. Like they have to hear it from a lot of different people or get a lot of different facts before they'll change their mind. They're the ones that hold the energy. So the cardinals get it going, the fixed hold it, and then the mutable come in and kind of clean it up. They make the adjustments like, okay, well, you started it and you held it and think it's supposed to go this way, but I've watched it all and now I'm going to tweak it just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is hitting in any sign that's either earth or fixed.
And then what is the degrees again? Tracy, you had said between 21 and 25?
Yeah, 21. So it's a hitting at 21 degrees. So 5 degrees either way, either side of that,
Oh.
I would say. The other thing that I was going to say, and Cindy, tell me what you think about this, but we have a full moon in Scorpio that's happening like pretty much in direct opposition to this thing on, what is it? Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So the energy, even we're still going to be in this conjunction point. These are not fast moving planets. So I think that this opposition full moon situation is probably going to be, when we're dealing with a full moon, we're dealing with powerful emotional intensity. We're also dealing with those two planets and like globally, the way that they can be expanding unexpected situations. And with a full moon, we're really kind of fanning some flames. So, I,
Exactly. So I think of it kind of like all one energy myself too. But I'm gonna add the eclipse in there too, because we're still,
yeah,
waning off of the eclipse
Yeah.
too. And then you put this Uranus Taurus conjunction in there, and now we have that moon,
Yeah.
full moon in Scorpio. And by the way, it's going to be squaring Pluto.
Pluto. Yeah.
And Pluto is in Aquarius, which is a fixed sign. So all this energy is very intense. It's very Plutonian, I guess some astrologers would call it. And what is
Transformative.
right? And that's what I was
Mhm.
just gonna say. What is Plutonian? Transformative.
Yeah. And so in that
It's
Scorpio,
begging you to transform.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's what that Scorpio is. It's also, it's going to guide us through those transformational journeys, and just so that we know all these things that are happening, right? It sounds like a big old mess, but it's a beautiful symphony and tapestry of all of these energies that are meant to work together to say, what do you need to be happy? What do you need? Is it present in your life? If it's not, bring it in. And if it's in there and it's creating unhappiness, get rid of it. So this is a little bit off topic, and I want to be able to wrap up what we were talking about now, but can you guys talk a little tiny bit about the next eclipse season that's coming up down the road, and how the two tie together, maybe, or what we can learn from this for that?
Yeah, so well, first of all, I want to say that Jupiter and Uranus are going to go into Taurus or into Gemini next. I think that's really important to point out too before we get to the next eclipses. So Gemini is very different. Um the Taurus is, very like, earthy, like that earthquake situation. And then when it gets into Gemini, that's air, right? That's the communication. So anything right now, while Taurus and Uranus are in Taurus, is creating that earthy idea, or that, I don't know, tangible thing, let's say. And then when it gets into Gemini, that's when it's going to be able to fly. It's going to be able to fly through our words, or through our communication, or through our thinking,
Yeah.
change,
And
expansion.
if you thought technology and AI and things like that were weird when Pluto went into Aquarius, just wait until Uranus hits Gemini in 2025. I mean, let's pay attention to technology, is all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So, and so then the eclipses are on, that 18-month cycle. And we won't be ending that up until the first of 2025. Correct me if I'm wrong on all these, Tracy.
I think you're right. I'm looking at the dates right now for 2024.
Right. But it's also going to start shifting in October. So you'll see one of the first eclipses for the next series in October, before it completely shifts into those nodes. And so the next nodes are right now we're in
Aries, Libra, so they'll be Taurus.
they
Or they
go
go back?
backwards. The nodes go the opposite direction.
They're moving
Pisces.
into Pisces, Virgo.
Pisces, Virgo.
Yeah, and the Pisces partial lunar eclipse is the one that's September 17th, and then we have another Libra annual or solar eclipse, and that's the one that's in October, early October.
Okay.
So we're bridging the two cycles during that month. So we're calling back to this cycle, but then we're also looking forward to the next cycle.
So would you say that that is about wrapping things up, or is it about another step in empowerment?
I think it's going to be another step. I think it's going to be a good 2 years. I think we're going to see more relief in the spring of 2025 when it completely shifts, but only because it's shifting energy, not necessarily because it's solving everything.
No.
So so I don't know. I just think it's a better question instead of looking at the nodes, maybe just looking at like a couple of years from now. Things are going to look very different than they look right now.
Yeah, especially in the medical profession. For the people that have the sixth house and are, have to focus on their health. I've been following CRISPR technology, CRISPR research for the last 2 to 3 years, and that's gene editing. And now they have finally gotten to the point where they now give people eye drops and that were blind and now can see. They've approved it for sickle cell anemia, gene editing, to give it to them to cure. I mean, then they no longer have sickle cell anemia. In the UK, they've started doing it for pancreatic cancer, but they're looking at, giving it to people that so they no longer have Parkinson's, no longer have ALS, no longer have multiple sclerosis. It's like that technology in the next 5 to 10 years is going to totally transform the medical community. It's amazing stuff.
I love that. I love that.
And that would definitely track, like you said, that sixth house is ruled by Virgo. Yep.
Very medical related, absolutely.
So why I asked about this upcoming eclipse is because it's going to be happening as we begin to transition from an 8 universal year, which is a year of empowerment, empowering others, material wealth and success, that sort of thing, into a 9, which is a humanitarian focused year, a year of transformation, transitions, wrapping things up in order to move into a brand new, 9-year cycle. So I kind of wondered, that's numerology. So I was wondering how the astrology sort of tracked with that. How those
Well, I think you just answered it by saying what it is, right?
Yeah.
So service, right? Both Virgo and Pisces. That's, that they're more of service to others.
And the community.
And about the collective and, selfless action.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love it. I love the connection between the two. They always, always. It's really cool. So does anybody have any questions for any of the, for anybody open forum now? Any burning questions about life?
And if you want to unmute yourself, or you can type them into the chat.
Yeah.
I have a question just in general, kind of not about astrology in general, but do you guys have a recommendation? So I have this book, which I think Tracy, you recommended this.
Yeah.
I understand the basics, but when we get into like things like looking at charts, I just found the Chani app. Do you guys know that? She's a astrologer. Okay, so she has a really very beginner friendly, I will call it, natal chart. It's all of the languages there, so you don't have to like go look up the signs and stuff. It's really helpful. But do you guys have another recommendation? So like I'm starting to get the idea of the influence of houses, like it's finally sinking in. And then would the next thing to be like really looking is the planets then in the placement of your chart? Would that be a good next step?
Yeah, I think that so first of all, the difference between the Teresa Reed that you have there and Chani Nicholas is that Chani, this is an excellent book, by the way, but she's talking mostly in this book about sun, moon, and rising. Chani is using whole houses, which is a little bit different than Placidus. Okay, if you're getting a little deeper, you're going to start to understand house systems. But basically, all that means is that in Placidus, the houses can have a little bit of one sign and a little bit of another sign. And in whole houses, it will just be each house is one sign. So there's a little more nuance, I guess we'll say, in Placidus and house systems that are similar to that than in whole house, but both of them have legitimate uses, and neither is better. It's just what works best for you. But if you are noticing some confusion between looking at how Teresa Reed teaches and how Channing Nicholas teaches, that's probably why, because you're going to be seeing two different house systems with those two practitioners. Does that make
Thank you, because
sense?
it makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Okay.
Because I ask Cindy questions sometimes and I'm still like, I don't get that. So, but
When
now I
you're-
do. So thank
when
you.
you're looking, when you're looking at a chart, it's like a stage show. Okay. The houses are the stages. Where are the things happening? You know, where are you looking? A thing is going to happen here in the second house. This is the stage. The sign that rules the house, you need to know that, because that's going to tell you, what does the stage lighting look like? What is the costuming? What is the set decor? You can tell a mood and a flavor about what's happening in that house on that stage by what sign is ruling it. The planets are like the actors. They each obviously have their own agenda, but because of the sign they're in and the house they're in, they're playing a part, and they're playing a part on that stage. Okay. And then you start from there, you add another layer on. You know, what are the aspects? How are each of those actors interacting with each other? And what do those energies look like? And how is that impacting the whole show? Right. So there's a lot of like added flavors and layers to astrology. You're building on your knowledge level right now, which is great. So add another layer a little bit at a time, and you're getting there.
Cool. Thank you. Will you say that one more time? Because I think, Cindy, you have a similar analogy about the soup and the pot. I would like to, if you wouldn't mind
Yeah,
sharing that.
I
'cause
call
my brain
I
works in
call the
pictures.
signs like the flavor or the spice.
Wait, the signs are the spice?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I like what Tracy just said too. They're like the
Yes, yes.
setting or the scenery or the
Yeah, can you say that again, Tracy, when you have a second too? Because that was really
Yeah.
good.
Oh, the signs that rule the houses are like the flavor or the mood of the stage, right? It's the set
Got it.
decor and the lighting and the
Okay.
music and the costuming. You can tell a lot about what's happening in that area, even while there's no action happening,
Okay.
And
Um,
usually when you're looking at your chart, you're going to look at the houses and the planets first.
Okay.
And then you're
Yes.
going to put the spice on top of it, or the mood or the flavor on top of it with the sign. And if there are
Okay.
no planets in
Mhm.
that house, then you're just going to look at what that house represents. And then again, well, what is its flavor though? You know, and when you can go another step further and learn what planets are with what signs and what houses those fall in. So again, for example, Cancer is ruled by the moon and it rules the fourth house. Again, that gets more like, now we're going to get to aspects and so on and so forth, but
That's too much.
yeah, too much. But
The houses and planets.
yeah, but
Spicy, too
We're getting
spicy.
houses and planets, and then put the flavor of the sign on top of it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Tracy, were you done with your analogy? Your
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Me.
Dorothy.
So this is happening in my 10th house. And as a few of you know, three of you that I can see know I'm trying to sell this business of mine. So is that a good thing? What do you think?
We just went over this in your reading. And
I know, I just think about I'm ruled by the moon, okay?
All your parents are in the same teacher meeting right now, Dorothy. How does this feel?
Oh my God.
Called them all into the same room.
And I don't know what they've said, but Taurus is, rules real estate. So moving or selling a business to me is a type of real estate. And it's being conjoined by Jupiter. So Jupiter, can be good luck or expansion or change.
I think we talked about with Uranus being involved, it might not come how you expect, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing. It just may not be in the way that you were expecting it to go.
Yeah, my legs just tingled. My legs just tingled about that. It's, yeah.
Awesome.
It's exciting. Keep us posted.
Yeah.
All right.
I will.
I know Dina has a question.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Dina.
So, hi, Tracy. Where's Tracy?
She's below you.
No, I mean, where geographically?
Physically, I'm across the border from Michigan. I'm in Ohio.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're closer to us than you are to
Yes.
Joe. I was just curious. This is my first time seeing you, so I didn't know if you were out by her or
No.
if you were closer to us.
I'm a
Well, anyway,
Midwesterner.
hi, I'm Dina. Nice to meet you. All of this stuff was extremely overwhelming. I hang out with Cindy a lot, and when Cindy starts telling us the house stuff and the transit stuff, it's like she might as well start speaking Mandarin. I have no idea, but I tried my best to keep up with everybody. I don't know if I might be speaking for others in the group, but as far as I can understand, uh these conjunction, Jupiter and Uranus is in my first house, which I understand has to do with myself. And I want to get back to a question that Kathy asked about this 14-year thing, that this conjunction comes up every 14 years. Does this mean that it's always in my first house every 14 years? No. Okay.
So Uranus is a really slow mover. It moves through one sign over the course of 8 years.
Yeah, I
10
was gonna say 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this probably happened the last time in a sign or two before Taurus. So a house or two probably before this point, the last time this same type of conjunction happened. So if you look at things, about 14 years ago, if this was your first house, maybe this was in your 10th or 11th house before, were you going through any, career or social group changes, or, changes to your reputation or the way that you were kind of known in larger groups of people. If there was some kind of change like that, it could indicate that maybe you felt that transit happening at that time.
14 years ago?
Yeah, it's hard to think back, but yeah, 14 years. And there would be other things going on 14 years ago besides just this one planetary transit.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, so is this not something that you would like track then? You wouldn't look at something, you wouldn't go back 28 years or anything like that, or
I mean, if you look back and you think there was something going on in your life at that time, you could look back at that chart and try to figure out, validation for what was happening, or, try to pinpoint the space math about why that was going on. We can look back. Yeah. Looking
okay.
back is mostly validation, and it can sometimes help predict future, future planetary energies that are going to be happening in other areas of our chart too.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So if anyone's wondering, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction was in Pisces, and it went through June 8th of 2010. And then there was actually, they called it a triple conjunction. So I guess it happened 3 times over the course of like so many months. So the first one was June 8th. The second one was September 19th, 2010. And the last one was January 4th, 2011.
So this I have this thing called a soul review chart. It's part of what I do, and so I track every major thing that happened from birth through now, and I keep track of it all the time. Just it's for the soul blueprinting that I do. In 2010, when this last one happened, I went through a horrible heartbreak. Oh, he was the biggest douche. And I mean, it just broke my heart, right? But it also it was like the first in a series of 3 that ignited my awakening. So that's interesting. Now that I have that to sort of put that to, it's like, oh, I don't know what it means. I mean, I know what it means, but
And I'm looking at mine as well because Pisces is in my 4th house of family, home, and security. And pretty much that during that time period was when I like made the final decision that I was going to get married because it was like up in the air for a minute.
freaking love. Question, your hand is raised.
Oh yeah, I just want to say I met my husband in 2010, June. Our first date was like we met like June 10th, and our first date was June 12th of that year, and I was like, no way, just kind of cool.
Yeah.
I've never thought I would get married, so
All right. Well, so who knows? I'm eternally single, so I'm not even gonna worry about that. But interesting.
Yeah, you're not missing out on anything, Joe.
As the person is not single. I love that. All right, does anybody have anything that they want to ask, add, so we can wrap this up? Anything? Nope, everybody's good. Okay, you guys. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. What a fun time this was. We'll get some more of these on the books and do these for the big events and stuff like that, and some Q&As and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tracy and Cindy. We
Yeah,
really
thank
appreciate
you so
you.
much.
Tracy and Cindy.
Thank you.
Are awesome.
It was nice meeting you guys.
Yeah.
too.
Those of you I don't know.
Oh, wait.
Bye, thank you.
You guys also, one of the things, well, we can do this in a group, but I'll drop your contact information in the group if people want to book with you. Both of you. Okay? I'll do that.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Sounds
Thanks,
great.
you guys.
Tracy,
Thank
you ever
you.
gonna get back into the podcast business?
Oh, Cindy.